again, it's the easier, people taking the easier path of like, it's easier just to be like, oh, you're fine, everything's cool, like don't worry about it. To where it's harder to go like, hey, we gotta get your shit in order, and like I'm here to help that. When you get to a point where it's just second nature, you're not fighting a battle at all anymore. There's no battle to be fought to where that person's fighting a battle every single time they go. You make your life easy, everything becomes hard. But if you make your life hard, everything becomes easy. Tell you what, first thing I want to say, our apartment complex is the best. They just have free shit all the time. Like, they had Dunkin' Donuts down there because Father's Day is around the corner.
They did that. They do, and it's like, I would say like a couple times a month they do something like that. Like they had like mimosa Saturdays where they had a bunch of pastries and mimosas. They had one where they did like the
Cinnamon rolls, right? They had that.
Yeah, but they
one
like
time.
it was like a whole pastry, like with like the full table was pastries and mimosa stuff. They did like
Well,
a
these
hot
were from
chocolate
down
bar where they gave out like mugs and stuff too during Christmas time.
Yeah, that's awesome. These LaCroix, like they always
Yeah.
just have like a fridge down there stocked with a bunch of different drinks and stuff.
Oh yeah,
It's probably because they charge so goddamn
latte
much.
machine. And
You want to get me the other circular one? The cool liquid absorber thing? Yeah, I didn't know Father's Day was coming up. Did you know that?
I did.
I thought I didn't know because I don't have a
I was
father.
I wanted to say like, well, it doesn't really matter for you, does it? Say it again. Say I didn't know Father's Day was coming up.
I didn't know Father's Day was coming up.
Well, guess what? Doesn't matter for you.
To be fair, I also don't know when Mother's Day is and don't know when that's coming up.
Father's Day, I
But-
think, is
June something, right?
June 18th. So we got.
Are you sure?
Yeah, I have the calendar right in front of
What is Juneteenth then? Isn't it June 18th? No, isn't it June 18th?
me. June 18th is Father's Day. But Juneteenth,
Is it the whole month? No,
I think so. Or 14th.
we're not educated.
Let's say. No, Juneteenth is actually right in front of me. It's on the 19th.
After.
Yeah.
Right in front of you. What do you mean?
Because I'm looking at the calendar and I was like, I don't know what it is. And so the next day over, it says Juneteenth on it.
Oh, gotcha.
I was like, I don't know what it is.
Don't ask me what Juneteenth even is, but I just know we're not supposed to talk about it.
If you don't know about it, don't talk about it. Because you're going to come off as
Oh, we're going off already.
ignorant.
Uh,
Okay, so I have a list of
yeah.
what does Channing think?
Oh boy.
Topics. Okay, so we just talked about in the last podcast, like having mental, emotional, and physical strength. But then I kind of want to touch on like the recovery part of all those and how to get like rest. I feel like when we're talking about, not being weak, but also being like productive, I don't think rest is like a weak thing and recovery is not a weak thing. I think you should use it appropriately and you should use it. But what I've been learning more with myself of figuring out what is the appropriate rest that I'm actually looking for so that I'm using that appropriately, where I feel like most people are like, oh, I just need physical rest. I always need physical rest. I need to like just take a day to like just sit on the couch or whatever. And then you're like, I'm not rested, or like I still feel like I can't keep pushing, or whatever. Did you hit record?
Yeah.
Okay. That I know for me, I wasn't needing physical rest. I needed like fun. I needed a mental break from work or being super dialed in and focused on things, that I just needed something fun and carefree, and that like rejuvenated me. So can you tell for yourself when you need what and like what your go-tos are?
Yeah, I'm not sure. Um, I think the fun thing there, I don't know. There's a little bit for me. That's not as like sure proof of like, oh, I'm feeling this. It's not that I like need to go get physical rest. It's that I need to just go have fun. I don't know. I think I don't need a lot of that. Maybe once a week or something like that for the fun part of it. Maybe that's even too much. Um, I don't know. I think I get more emotionally drained than anything else. Um, so I would say I probably need more recovery in that area compared to like physical or mental. Um, I don't really have a tool or a technique from that other than just like I don't know, maybe it would be go have fun or like I think in a way like going and exercising or something is kind of a way for me to detach from all the emotional stuff. Um, so yeah, I don't know. The emotion it's the emotional for sure. That's the one that taxes me. I'll do physical shit all day long.
Mm-hmm.
The mental stuff, I feel like I have a good like energy bar for that too, where I can typically have energy for it, or just like it doesn't drain me. I guess what I'm trying to say. But the emotional is where I'm like, I just can't handle this. Like I need more breaks from that. Um, if we're backing around family, I feel like I need more just like, oh, I need to separate for a second, or I need to, it's just so emotionally a lot
Yeah.
that,
Well, and for you, I
and I'm
think
not
you're
good
not
at
a
that.
very social person anymore.
No.
That
Yeah.
whether it's because it's emotionally draining or whatever, it's also just like there's way more people
Yeah. I'm not. It
that you're not
does.
used to
Yeah.
having to like talk to someone that's not me all day.
Yeah. 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 I'm not as social as I used
Like
to
the
be in it.
introvert versus extrovert. Like what drains them.
Yeah. Which is kind of funny, like that. I like doing this. Yeah, I'm more introverted, but it's just like I like just talking to you.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, it is. It's the emotional that drains me, and I mean, yeah, really, I think my way of doing that is just like trying to disconnect from that, and I don't really have a specific or a great tool for that. It's like
I think it is working out.
go exercise, yeah,
I think you're
or
right with
like
that.
go try to have some fun. Like maybe it's just like go down to the pool and just chill or something. In a weird way, I think like going and doing something actually helps me disconnect. If I'm in the house too long and just like sitting and not really like like getting cooped up type of thing. I think I can handle that more than the average person of like
Mm-hmm.
just being at home because I like it, but I can somewhat notice that it's like, oh, okay, like I need to get up and go do something or go. I feel like
That's so weird. I would not have clocked you for that. Maybe it's just like your bandwidth for being able to stay at home is so much larger than mine that I'm
yeah,
like, you never want to go do anything.
right. And I think it's maybe less of go out and do something, but more so like just doing something. I think this is where I'm a lot like my mom, where it's like, oh, just like get up and do the dishes or go like do laundry or clean stuff up or
Mm-hmm.
something, like kind of find busy work to disconnect a little bit, because I think if I'm just sitting there or whatever, I can't do that for too long. Otherwise, like not only is it just like it's harder to get up and do anything because you're not doing anything, but it's just like the emotional state is just kind of wafting and sitting there. And so yeah, like the social crowds and a lot of people, that's emotionally draining to me. And then like I don't know, I just need to be doing something for me to feel like good about myself and productive and like feeling like I'm achieving stuff. I got to be doing things.
Mm-hmm.
I can't just like sit there and feel like content and comfortable so much, which that has changed a little bit too. But
That to me, it has to be like designated time for like just the chill, not doing
just to
anything.
chill. Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
like I said, like I wanted to go to the coffee shop today, but it didn't make sense for me because I didn't have a lot of work to do. That's like I'll go sit there for 4 hours and work, but if
Yeah.
I just went and sat there for half of the time, that just seems random to me.
Mm.
But then, like, if I go to the beach and sit there, that makes sense. It's like the
Yeah.
relaxing has to be in specific ways
Sure.
that work.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it just like seems like, but you could be doing something.
I mean, you find your things.
Yeah.
For some reason, like something will work for you. It's like sitting in this place doesn't work, but then sitting in that place does work.
Yeah.
It's like, what? That doesn't make any sense. Like, well,
Yeah.
sometimes it doesn't. But
Yeah.
yeah. What's
Cool.
your next thing?
What does the word, and I don't know if we've talked about this or we did, but what does the word accountability mean to you? That's a word that I've like
Accountability.
really.
ACC.
That's just a word that I've really been focusing on when I am teaching. That it's like I hear what kids talk about it and like how would I use accountability with that age group, but for an adult, like what does accountability look like?
Huh. I don't know. It's funny that like
Or maybe for you personally. But
we have these words and then like we know the like almost like the essence of it, but we never really put a definition together of it or like try to specifically say what it is. Accountability, I think, I don't know. For me, it's just like, in a way, it's like just doing what you said you're gonna do. It's like if I'm waking up and my day is, I'm gonna go to the gym. I'm gonna like make sure the dishes are all good, and I'm gonna cook all my meals or whatever. I'm gonna go to work. I don't know. I'm gonna say that I'm gonna do these things. To me, the accountability of that is like then you actually do them, and I don't know. I think that's an interesting. It's an interesting like topic in itself because that is like even what I'm describing is so just like about me, but then when you branch it out to other people, it's like now you're telling other people this is what I'm gonna do and I'm gonna I'll pick up ice for the party and then you don't. It's like, well, you don't have accountability and now everybody's time is a little weird because the beers are cold or warm or something. But
so specific.
I think if I could just say one sentence about it, it's just like doing what you say you're gonna do, you know. And I think that's a good thing to look at too. If like you're not feeling that good about yourself, so it's like, well, are you saying shit and then not doing it? It's like, because that could be pretty. You have so many examples of that throughout the day, you know. Oh, I should do the dishes. Oh, I should, go for a walk. Oh, I should, make a healthy dinner or whatever. It's like, and then you don't do those things. It's like, yeah, you're probably going to feel like shit about yourself.
Yeah.
You're not having any accountability.
Yeah. How I describe it with the kids is just like, I want to give them the most amount of control. So whether it's depending on the age group, like, can you stay focused without me trying to remind you? Can you like stay quiet? Can you follow directions without me needing to like fully break it down or say it over and over again? That the more accountability that you show me you can't handle, I now have to fill in the gaps. So same thing as an adult, whatever I can't handle, something else is going to fill in the gaps. And it might not be someone else filling those gaps in for me anymore, but it's going to be some other things. Like we talked about in the last episode of like the emotional stuff, feeling like it controls me. It's like the less that I have accountability with my emotional state and how I'm working on that, the more that my emotions are going to fill the gaps and put stress on me, or I'm going to feel like I'm out of control with it, or I'm going to be, that whatever I can't handle, someone else or something else will, and I want it to be me handling it.
Yeah. Well, and I think, somewhat cheesy way to look at it is like accountability and like count on yourself. Can you count on yourself? Like if you're saying you're going to do something and you don't, it's like you're just starting to teach yourself you can't count on yourself anymore. And I think that's a big it's a big thing to like not feel like you have that. And then the same with other people. It's like other people can't count on you either. And if that's starting to show up, and that can be frustrating, and and sad and whatever. So I don't know. To me, it's like, to me, it would be that. It'd be the best way to like gain accountability is just, if you say you're going to do something, do it. And like be super disciplined and like religious with that. Like I said, I'm going to go do this on this day. So I went and did it. And like, then you're just building that trust in yourself. And then I think other people are building that trust in you too. If like they see that.
Yeah. Okay, next thing. I wrote down rock bottom of fitness. I think this is something that we're seeing a lot more in today's culture, is like we're letting our physical health
Are you talking about the WWE move, rock bottom?
No. No. No, I don't know what you're talking
You don't know what that is?
about.
Put up a clip.
That we're allowing ourselves to get to a rock bottom space before we then do anything about it. And then saying like how hard it is and saying how it's impossible, or we add other factors into it of like, well, I've had, X, Y, and Z happen, or my age, or I just can't blah, blah, blah with my schedule.
Yeah.
That instead of like almost like projecting out of like, ooh, what would be my rock bottom? How do I avoid getting there? Or like, what do I look like, feel like that I would be uncomfortable with, and then I would need to backtrack. It's like one of the podcasts talked about it. Tom Skrull talked about it, of how he's like, my weight that I will get to before I start really cracking down on it is so much less than what it used to be. Yeah. That he'd maybe gain 30 pounds before he would start reeling it back in, to where now he's like, maybe it gets to 10, or he can start to feel himself get more tired or whatever.
Yeah.
That I'll just talk about that.
Discuss.
Yeah,
that's a there's so many people that are already there. How often is it that like they're at zero? It's like you can't really get less than zero. That's something that's difficult for me to relate to, because I haven't had that issue. It's like I enjoy it so much that I couldn't imagine being at zero, really. I think when COVID happened, there was like a week or two within that, and I was just like, this ain't working. Like, I got to figure something out. So I was like, buy bands, go for walks, and I don't know, just figure a way out. But I think that's an interesting point of the rock bottom type of thing, or like what you said with what Tom Segura said, of like, he's basically moved that like, oh, the danger zone is not 250 anymore, it's now 215 type of thing, which I think is just it's an example of like setting boundaries a little bit for yourself, of like, I don't know, just like not letting yourself get there. I don't know, that's a difficult I don't know. I don't really know how I feel about that. Like, I don't know what to say about it, because it's like, yeah, I guess I don't know what you're wanting from that.
I think I wrote it down just because I was thinking about it one day of like, yeah, I feel like we're doing this thing, especially with fitness, but I'm sure it happens with every part of life. Well, it probably does, and that's what's like creating the culture, I think, nowadays, is we're letting it get too far, and then we realize it's harder to get out of rock bottom. So then we create excuses and reasons for why rock bottom is okay. Like,
oh,
'cause I don't know what I was listening to that sparked me thinking about that, but it's like, it's way easier to just maintain and to stay healthy and to stay in good shape and to stay, like on top of your shit kind of thing, versus letting it get so off track. It's like the method of, or not the method, but like the idea of, you take a day off of school, it's going to be that much harder to go back the next day versus if you just stayed going to school.
Yeah, or like the week, the spring break week.
Yes.
It's now way more difficult to go back, rather than like just the 2-day weekend that you're used to having.
Yes, because this other way, and it's just like, now you got to drag even a little bit harder to get back to that thing. So it's the same thing I think with fitness and fitness, when I say fitness, I mean that with your
Diet, exercise, mental,
all of it.
Everything.
That
Health.
when you get too off of the wagon, it's just that much harder to get back on. And when people already don't want to work hard, it's like you let yourself get here, but now you're putting yourself in even harder of a struggle to get back to just maintenance or get back to a space that you feel fine about, let alone to get to where you actually want to be, because you let it get to this point versus it's easier, even though it seems like a daunting task to just like stay on it and keep going. It would be much harder. Because I was thinking to myself, I was like, I know maybe my behavior and how I would act if I became like if I kept choosing the choices to allow myself to become overweight. Like, I know my way of getting out of that would probably not be healthy behaviors. So it's like, in order for me to avoid that, I know how hard that is, and I can only imagine how hard that is to feel that every day and to like look at myself and not like what I see all the time. That it's like, it means like even the days that I don't want to go to the gym, I'm like, this is still easier.
I think it's easier because you've built that behavior.
Yeah.
I think that's why it's easier to where, I wouldn't say it's necessarily easier just to keep doing it versus going to rock bottom and then trying to come out of it. Both are difficult, at least initially, until you build that behavior where it's so second nature. Like, I think it is difficult for people. Like, people try all the time to like, I'm going to get consistent now. And they start doing it and it's like, okay, cool, that's good. But you see how hard it is because they end up falling out and they become inconsistent and then they stop focusing on it and it's not a point of emphasis anymore. To where it's like, you have to do it. It's like you have to choose that difficult situation in order to get to the point where it's now easy. And I think that's like it becomes easy because the behavior of it is so second nature, to where initially it's challenging, it's difficult. My thought on it is it actually is easier to not do it than to do it initially. Because
right.
Then you get to a point where you don't even have to think about it. It's like, this is my routine. I go these days and that's it. Like, we just go do it. To where in the beginning, you're so focused on like, oh, I have to go do this day. And, everything is so dreadful and it's so looming and it's hard and just takes up a lot of your mental space and you're having to fight those battles all the time. To where it's like, when you get to a point where it's just second nature, you're not fighting a battle at all anymore. There's no battle to be fought, to where that person's fighting a battle every single time they go. That I think you're right once you get to that point. But initially, it is easier just to not do it.
But then you double down, it's even harder afterwards.
Yeah, it's like what we said in the last podcast. Like, you make your life easy, everything becomes hard. But if you make your life hard, everything becomes easy.
Yeah, so then you hit your rock bottom and you're maybe
and now it's
out of shape.
More.
Like, you have health conditions, you're overweight, and then now you have to deal with the same struggle from the beginning of having to get yourself to like get back on track, on top of not feeling capable and not feeling like healthily able to do those things and hate looking how you look. It's like now you have all of those things on top of the original struggle of just creating the behavior.
Yeah.
And I don't think that is preached. I guess that's where I maybe thought about it. Is like, I don't think that is talked about a whole bunch now. It's like, either you're in shape and you just fell into that and you're lucky, and this is hard for me. And then not having those two worlds coexist and the reasons that why they are the way that they are. And then both sides are like justifying why they're there. Like the hitting rock bottom.
To where nobody's talking about the middle.
No, it's like, you're either super out of shape and whatever, but now we need to not down talk that. Like, we need to think like, we can't call anybody fat anymore. Like, we have to use a special word for it so they don't feel bad about themselves. Or now we're having like, models that are plus size and all that. It's like,
well, and the people are just lying too, of like, this is healthy, and it's like, well, no, it's not.
And that's what I think I don't like. It's like, beauty is beauty. Like, I don't think that has to do with
to the eye of the beholder,
or look or whatever. Yeah, like,
Everybody's
just
gonna
some
have a
people that
different.
look at a super skinny ripped girl and they're like, yuck. It's like I don't
Yeah.
think it's like
The Joe List joke.
say it.
I don't remember. What is it?
He was
There's
like,
4 different.
okay, there was like a bra store that opened, and he was like, we have 90 sizes. He's like, 90 sizes. He's like, I know like 4. He said like, what did he say, like
Tiny, small, large, and yucky. The best joke. Go watch Joe List.
But the whatever is culturally beautiful, that is so subjective. But saying and lying to people, saying that it's healthy is what I have a problem with. And that's where I think the rock bottom effect comes in, is we're promoting that as it's okay and it's healthy. So now the in-between of creating the behaviors, and like what we said last time, like it's okay just to go on walks. It's okay to just go in and do little bits at a time until you get comfortable with it. That's now not even in the discussion. Because like, well, I could just take the easy route and not do that, and I'm still going to be praised as being overweight and unhealthy.
Yeah.
Or I need to be super dedicated. I absolutely love it. I go 6 times a week and I'm doing da-da-da-da.
There's no middle.
There's no middle ground of this is still good too, of you getting movement in.
Yeah. Well, and I think I agree. I don't like the message of that it's healthy, but I feel like if you go and talk to those people and you get past the bullshit, it's going to be like, yeah, I don't feel great. I don't feel like, and this is on both ends of the spectrum, whether you're overweight or you're somebody that's dealing with anorexia. It's like,
yes,
there's no, and that's where I feel like that's where you can just tell, like, this is just all full of shit. Is like, we do all of this with overweight models and that sort of thing now, but then it's disgusting and unhealthy and a problem for anorexic people. It's like, how is this okay and fine now? But then on the other end of the spectrum, it's totally not okay and they need to fix it. It's like, both are issues. And like what you're talking about, nobody's talking about the middle ground of that, of like, we need to try to get people on both ends of the spectrum to make better choices so that they live a better life. Because I think if you talk to either one of those people, and like I said, you get past the bullshit of the, like whatever, the body positivity and everything, you'll start to unravel and realize like, oh, you don't like this either. And you're uncomfortable and you don't feel good about yourself. And there's probably big emotional things going on that they're having to deal with, and they're not dealing with them good. And it's just like, this is how they're showing that in a way.
Yeah.
To where people just going, oh, it's fine, don't worry about it. It's like, now you're being ignorant. Now the people that go to the gym 7 days a week and beat the shit out of their body, and you're saying that they're a problem. Yeah, sure, they could be. But now on the other end of the spectrum, like, they're fine, everything's okay. It's like, it's such a weird way of ignoring a problem and not trying to be helpful or not trying to deal with it, because that person's something's actually going on, and this isn't positive. Because I guarantee you, take that person, you go, hey, if you could get your period back and you could have positive body image issues, and by doing that, it's by
your
putting
hair's
on,
not falling out.
your hair's not falling out, and you don't have to wear wigs or something, and you put on 30 pounds and you felt good and everything, like, is that a place that you would want to be? Most people are gonna be like, yeah, I would much rather have that. I don't want to be this. So why are we bullshitting?
Mm-hmm.
That's what's crazy. And I think that, like, what you're talking about with the rock bottom thing is like, rock bottom is happening for people, and then we're all going like, oh no, but you're fine, like, you're cool, like, you're awesome, everything's cool,
Right.
And these people are like, no, I'm at fucking rock bottom,
Right.
and
that's
then
where
you're
I think,
going like, love yourself and everything's fine. It's like, how do you know what to think then?
right, because especially someone that's psychologically going through that, like, say, going through an eating disorder, whether you're 200 pounds or 80 pounds, like, that's still the same brain process that,
You basically just picked a direction.
that now you're going to tell that person that they're very aware that the way that they're thinking is probably not healthy to their physical health. Going like, love yourself. You're beautiful.
Yeah.
Or you're like, you're the statement of what health is. And like, we should, pump you up and whatever. And they're like, I feel horrible. Like,
another great joke of Mark Norman's. That's like, we all have to say Caitlyn Jenner's beautiful. And then you go, oh, you look like her. Oh, fuck you. It's like, this is exactly what we're talking about.
yes.
Is it's like, you're just wanting to be politically correct. And you're just wanting to save everybody's feelings. But then when it's turned on you, it's now not okay.
Or when that person that's super overweight has a heart attack or has heart conditions or has some sort of blood disorder, like now.
We're just supposed to still go like, you're fine, you're cool, everything's good.
Right. It's like we were all the
what?
ones that are hyping that person up to just keep living unhealthily and killing themselves.
Yeah. Yeah.
The same, and like you said, the same on the opposite scale of someone that's overtraining and still has same body image issues, but is just going in the opposite direction.
Yeah.
It's like, oh, that's so dangerous.
Yeah. The preaching, or like the people being okay with other people being at rock bottom and just like acting like everything's fine. It's like, again, it's the easier, people taking the easier path of like, it's easier just to be like, oh, you're fine, everything's cool, like don't worry about it. To where it's harder to go like, hey, we gotta get your shit in order. Mm-hmm. And like, I'm here to help that.
Yeah.
That's way more difficult than
and
going,
that's where
like,
I think that in the middle is.
Well, yeah, because you also don't want to be on the other end of the spectrum of like, you don't want to be calling people fat and being an asshole and being a jerk. Like,
right.
That's not acceptable either. But the pendulum swing all the way the other way and then just lying to people's faces. This is something that Tom Segura talked about too, of like him seeing people, like at parties or whatever, and somebody that's a little bit overweight, he's now having those conversations with a lot of people because he has lost weight, and he's seeing it happen all the time of people being like, yeah, I really got to try to like get my shit together and lose some weight, whatever. And he's like, and then their friend will be like, no, dude, you look great. Everything's fine. You look great. And he's like, don't do that. Don't do that to them.
He already acknowledges it for himself.
Yeah. And it's also like, that's not helping.
Right.
You're allowing this person to like be unhealthy, or I don't know. It's like you're enabling them to not do, you're enabling them to like do harm to themselves. And that maybe is extreme, but it's like, I think what I really dislike about it is those people think that they're all high and mighty and the nice person, when it's like in reality, you're not helping, and you're more of a detriment, and you're enabling. It's like, but that person thinks that they're like super nice and amazing. It's like, no, you're allowing this person to like,
It's enabling. It is enabling. That's 100% what it is.
Yeah.
And I think if you that's why like it's weird to me that this is so wrapped up into beauty. It's like that has nothing to do with it.
Something that's has
nothing to do with it.
It's so much based on just like a perception. But it's like what I think is beautiful, the next person is not going to. It's like
exactly
everybody's into different things and likes different things.
But health on a paper is health on a paper. Like if you write, it's like what that is doing to your body.
Right. Yeah, and we're just trying to mask it and like ignore. We're trying to ignore all the data of it.
Yes, and cover it in words that don't matter, or like things that don't matter. It's like, okay, I can see like the whole plus size model thing, being able to walk into a store and see what you look like. But I don't mind at all. I do and I don't. I get it because like I've also been with people in that situation where they're in the dressing room, they're trying on shit, and it just so defeats them because nothing looks good on them. They already feel like shit with how they look, and now they're trying on clothes and whatever. I get that. I totally understand that. But no one's really walking into the stores looking at the mannequins and going, I look like that. It's like, this is the North Star kind of thing. Like, this is what we could be shooting for because it like represents health in a certain way. The same way that we know stick thin models. No, that's not the representation of health. That's a look. That's a specific style. But no one's going, she looks healthy.
Yeah.
I shouldn't say no one. I don't know. But
yeah, I don't know. The mannequin thing I think doesn't bother me that much just because like I don't know, it's like there should, I don't know, maybe not should, but like I can understand that like yeah, I mean especially in the US like a lot of people are larger now. That in the clothes that you're selling, you're probably selling more of those clothes now, so you should have something that represents that, not just something that's in shape and fit because that's not working clearly. Having like skinny mannequins to try to address people to have something to look to try to be like just isn't working.
But that's where I'd like to know is if they even have the stats on this of since we started switching over into the body positivity stuff, which is so nuts to me. It's like that's not what that means. But like
Body lying.
It's like because we switch into that, are we noticing the obesity rates continue to grow to where maybe they were still growing, but maybe not as rapid of a rate. Like now that we're making it so normal, you're not having that like.
Well, it's like the same. It's the same type of stuff of like the all cause mortality stuff of being obese. It's like an astronomical number of it's like 50% more that you're going to die from anything. You have a 50% chance of dying from anything, increase 50% compared to the normal person. We're not doing that with like people smoking. It's like, oh, smoking positivity, like you're fine, just smoke, everything's cool,
don't
don't worry
about your
about it.
addiction.
It doesn't matter that you have lung cancer, don't worry about it. So it's like this person
we're literally pushing them outside away from us.
It is. It's like you're opening the door going
them.
like, you're fine, everything's cool, just get out of here and you're fine, go away.
Yeah.
Rather than going like, hey, maybe we should try to figure this out and fix this.
Yeah,
and
your addiction isn't allowed in buildings.
Yeah.
You have designated areas for your addiction.
To where we're doing that with health, where it's like there's significant health risks of being obese or being anorexic. You know, super high blood pressure, super low blood pressure, you know, like carotid artery issues, cholesterol issues, diabetes. Like you're having all of these issues on paper, but we're like, you're healthy, it's fine. Just go out into the world and be positive and love yourself. It's like, I don't know. It's like, to me, it's like you're sending totally the wrong message and you're not helping anybody. You're just enabling and masking. Really what it is like, you don't want to deal with it. You just want to, on the outside, look like the nice person that's all inclusive and loves everybody. And you don't want to be the person that's looked at like an asshole. Mm-hmm. And it's like, yeah, but are you doing any positive with that? Is that any good? Because as obesity increases and more people are having issues, it's like, where does that leave you? You now just enable all that. Just like you could switch it from that to smoking. You could switch it from that to drinking too much. It's like you would probably try to have a conversation, or probably maybe not try to have a conversation, but you would have a more logical opinion about drinking or smoking than you would with this. And it's like, that's what's so annoying, is it's just you're just trying to look good on the outside. But if it was somebody who smoked too much or was smoking, period, you would sit on your high horse and go like, oh, they shouldn't be doing that, that's bad for their health. It's like, but you won't do that with somebody who's drastically under eating, or maybe not even under eating, but like is anorexic or
starving
obese.
themselves, or and that's where I lost my train of thought.
It's just like, you're phony.
And because
phony.
that's the avoiding the actual issue and just trying to cover it up, we're now not coming up with solutions so that we can find that middle ground and actually provide good guidance. 100%. The same way that we have with the people that drink. It's like, there's rehab, like there's actual programs and steps that they go through so that they are able to recover from that.
Yeah, you don't see people going to those rehabs being like, we shouldn't do this anymore. This is bad for them. To where I bet
Just
you
celebrate them.
I bet you have that with same addiction, like food addiction type stuff.
Yeah. To where we're not having that middle ground of being able to just talk about, just go on a walk.
Yeah.
Just choose one meal in your day to eat a little bit healthier.
Yeah.
Or try to cook at home more. It's always the extremes that's like, well, that's hard.
Yeah.
It's like you tell someone that's 80 pounds, like, just eat. You'll be fine. Just eat. You probably won't gain too much. It's like they're not thinking correctly.
No. Well,
It's
and
like,
that's
you can't just tell someone that's addicted to alcohol, be like, just
stop.
one night a week, don't drink.
Yeah.
It's like their emotions and their mental state is not set up to be able to do that. You got to find the middle ground and give them steps to be able to work out of that. The same way if you're super obese or anorexic, in the opposite way, like, or have just a food issue.
And maybe it's not even that so much. Like, it's just body image issues.
Body image, yes.
And you're making decisions or choices that just aren't pushing you in the direction that you should be going to have a healthy lifestyle.
Yes. That we're now all this middle ground. It's like it's not enough, or we're not thinking of ways to have that be an actual steps out of it.
Yeah.
We're just like, well, just you got yourself there, so now we'll just celebrate you because we don't know how to help you get out.
Well, and I think a lot of it is probably because people don't know what to do. Like they don't know what to say to that person. They don't know how to help that person. Because it's like, somebody that maybe doesn't know.
And that's because it's not normalized enough. If someone came to you and go, I know I have an addiction problem and I'm ready to do something about it. You don't have an addiction problem. You've never gone through recovery, but you would at least know to go, like, have you thought of looking up meetings and going to recovery, like an AA? Like,
yeah.
It's so normalized that you would at least be able to offer help. To where with this, it's not normalized. So it's just like, just love yourself. or just eat more. It's okay. You're not going to eat, like someone that's super skinny, they're just like, geez, you should just like eat a piece of pizza every once in a while. It's like, that's the conversation.
Well, and that's what I hate so much about, like, the what is it, like, double standard of this conversation is it's like everybody's body positivity about overweight, but if it's an anorexic person, they need to fix that, and that's a problem, and that's not good. It's like,
right.
What the fuck? Like, that just clearly tells me, like, you're just trying to toe the line so that you don't get, in trouble or looked at like an asshole or whatever, and you're just following what everybody else is doing and saying, rather than thinking for yourself and going like, no, I know that both of those are extreme and they're not good for the person. So if they're coming to me with advice, asking me something, like, I'm going to try to actually help them and not just like keep my PC, self from getting in trouble or them getting mad at me or something, because this is the culture that we're in now. It's like, nut up, step up to the plate. It's like, you could actually help that person, but instead you're taking the easy way out, and it's like that person down the line, I don't know if they'll end up resenting you or not liking you, but if they were to get the help that they needed and to get out of that, they're going to look at a lot of those conversations or a lot of those people and go like, oh, they were enabling me and weren't helping me at all. And maybe they're not as good of a friend as I thought they were.
Especially if it's to the extremes where it's such a mental thing. Like, it's not always just like, oh, you're lazy. Sometimes, in a lot of the cases, it's just you're lazy and you've made a lot of bad decisions and now you're overweight or whatever it is. But especially when there's a disorder with it, it's like they're already not thinking clearly, that you going, you look great, or this is fine, or you're 80 pounds, you look super skinny, or that's awesome. You're just confusing that more. You're like, you're almost, you're you're acknowledging that what the behavior is good.
Right.
Like,
so then they're going,
everybody said that I looked good, so that must be what I'm doing is correct.
Right. But then you on the inside are still feeling like this is not. This
When your
isn't
instincts
right.
are telling you I should be doing something, now everybody on the outside is saying, no, you're fine.
They're all lying to you. Yeah.
Yeah. It's like smoking is fine. Or,
Yep. And
you
you're
know,
like,
drinking
but
every night
there's
is
all
fine.
this research and studies of how this isn't good for my health. It's like, you're fine. Don't worry about it.
Right. They
Just-
learn to not trust themselves.
Just love yourself.
Yeah.
If that makes you love yourself, just do that. Yeah.
Yeah. And then we start to create like actual, I think that's why it bothers me so much, is it does start to change the reality of things. I think we're seeing that a lot now, where it's like, it's not just, okay, some people think that. It's like, no, that changes like how our culture thinks about these things. It's
Yeah.
like, you know, like you said, the enabling thing. It's like when someone's pregnant and they're like, you're eating for 2. Or like, it's okay if you have an extra, you know, whatever. It's like, no.
You're not eating for 2.
You're not eating for 2. You're probably eating for 3 when you weren't pregnant. So now you're having this person, now you're having this mom gain way more weight than they need. It's like, I think you need like 25 to 30 pounds max.
Well,
and
and that's-
again, that's so dependent on the person. And like, obviously health comes into play there. But like, we're just like, that has become a new reality now of people just gaining a shit ton of weight when you're pregnant. Okay, well, we're being there and like, oh, it's okay to do these things. You have cravings, that's okay, da 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 da. But then, where are you after the pregnancy when she can't get the weight off, and she's exhausted all the time, or her body is failing her because she's unhealthy?
Yeah.
It's like, sure, she's pregnant and whatever, and she, you know, is growing a person, so she thinks she needs to eat more. What's the ramifications of that?
Yeah.
Now we're just celebrating an unhealthy parent.
Yeah. They don't want to deal with the
they
problems.
probably don't feel good either.
Right. Yeah, they don't want to, they're not going to be responsive. It's the accountability thing. They're not going to be accountable now afterwards
Right.
when it's all difficult. When you don't have the excuse and the justification of like, oh yeah, I am supposed to get bigger because it's a pregnancy, and then like, okay, yeah, I get it. And then afterwards, now it's like you don't have that justification. You don't have that excuse.
Right. Now you're expected to
what?
snap right back.
Right. And that same person isn't sitting there going like, oh, just
Right.
you're fine. You're
That
fine.
same person's like, how many weeks postpartum are you? Oh, and you still look like that?
Yeah.
But that same person is like, have an extra piece of this.
Yeah.
You're eating for 2.
You're fine.
Yeah.
Everything's
You're
okay.
pregnant. You should be eating more.
Yep. And then
And you
they
can eat whatever.
They probably would afterwards too. It's just constant enabling. It's constant enabling in this category now because people don't want to look like an asshole. Because it's such a social topic and there's such strong opinions about it now, and people don't want to be mean.
Yeah.
And I'm not like, you know, go find everybody that has a problem and start telling them what to do and yell at them. It's like, no, if they want to come to you to talk about it, then yeah, you can talk about it. But like, I hope you know what the hell you're talking about, because there's a lot of fucking health professionals out there that don't know what the hell they're talking about.
Well, but even
It's
that, it's like
crazy.
what we said, like there's so much information out there. Even if you don't know or what, like direct them to maybe someone that does.
And that's the thing, is like nobody will do that. For some reason, everybody views health like they're all an expert on it. That's what I don't get, is you'll go to your best friend and be like, what do you think I should do in this? It's like, they aren't healthy. They don't know what they're talking about or doing.
Look for someone that has the behaviors that you want.
Yeah, maybe. But then even that's a slippery slope, because now you're looking on Instagram and you're like, oh, this person looks good and looks like they're in shape, and they're all fucked up too.
True.
And it's like, you're not, I don't know, for some reason the health space, everybody acts like they know what they're talking about. And it's crazy. And even if you're not in the health space, it's like everybody has an opinion about it and what you should do. It's like the pregnancy thing. Oh, you're fine. Eat another, 6 pieces of pizza. You're eating for 2 and whatever. It's like, you have no education about this. Why are you talking about it?
Right.
Like, why are you suggesting things that you know nothing about?
Right.
Which, that's a totally different topic that we've been talking about lately, of like trying not to
talk about shit you don't know.
Well, and just being honest about it.
Yeah.
Like, because we were watching a podcast the other day too, and they were talking about COVID and all this and that, and I was like, if this got brought up in a conversation, like, there's so many people that, another polarizing topic, but there's so many people talking that would talk about it in a way like they know the facts, but really they just listened to a podcast or heard it on the news, and now they're regurgitating the information, and they can't cite any of the data. They can't
Right.
they can't tell you. They're probably fucking up even what they're trying to explain to you, and it's all a mess. And it's like, I don't know. That's something that so many people do nowadays because there's so many different, social media, and you're able to say what you think on it so much. But us, I don't know, like both of us kind of, we were agreeing to that of just like trying to have integrity with your word.
Yeah.
It's like, if you're going to talk about these things, you should probably have like the data or the experience to be able to talk about it and back yourself up with it, to where it's like, if you're going to start talking about something random, it's like this, what we're talking about now. It's like, oh, you're fine, eat 6 pieces of pizza. And they're like, okay, but that's probably not good, right? And their response is just like, oh, no, you're fine. It's like, that's not an answer.
Right.
Like,
based off of what do you think? Why do you think that's fine?
Why do you think that's okay? Well, it's just you're eating for 2. It's fine. It's like they're just circling around, not giving you an answer.
And that's what I think talking in definites is tricky too, because I say that talking as I've never been pregnant. I've never been in that scenario before.
I have.
Let me tell you. I can only talk from what I've read and what I've looked for years. I've been looking into this because that's just something that I want to do really well, and how I want to set myself up in a certain way. It could all fall apart,
crash and burn.
But I know, okay, I grew up hearing, and just what's socially normal is you gain a bunch of weight, and I'm like, okay, well, what I know about health and fitness, it's okay, so I'm going to do the hardest thing in my life of having a kid and starting to raise it with being the most unhealthy that I've ever been. That makes no sense to me.
That doesn't,
Is there a way that I can avoid that? So then I look into why do we have to gain weight? What's the reason for that? What's the health benefits? What's the cause of weight gain or whatever? And then when you start to actually do your research, you're like, oh no, this is just something that we've made up. You maybe have to gain 30 pounds, and that's also depending on where you started from. Most people already have enough weight on them in average society now.
Yeah.
It's you have to
Today's
gain enough weight to be able to, like you said, have your period back or be able to produce more. But most people are already 30 pounds overweight than what they need to be. So you don't even need to gain weight. That's that's just something that we have created to be so normal.
Yep.
That I was like, that seems kind of backwards. Is this just one of those things that sucks? It's no, you do your research and you figure out more about it. But also still talking about that in I'm not a doctor. I don't know. I'm just talking about what I have learned.
Yeah.
This is what I hope can happen.
Yeah.
This is going to be my intention with it, or my goal, or how I'm going to try to go about it.
This would be the way that I approach it.
Yes.
And I think another part to that conversation of just people respond so quickly to, they respond to just make you feel better rather than asking you the questions to try to figure out why you're trying to get advice in a way. It's the people that are with the pregnancy thing of oh, I don't want any more or whatever. I'm good. And they're like, oh, you're fine. Have more. You're pregnant. You can eat for 2 and all that. It's no, I kind of have an issue with it, and I don't. It's that person isn't going oh, well, what issue do you have with it, or what is the, what is stopping you, and what do you want this to look like? And they're just trying to make you feel better, and just overbearing, rather than asking questions to figure out, to get to the basis of it, kind of thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yes.
I think people initially they go from well, this is the way I think about it, and then they just throw it at you, rather than we all have different ideas of how this whole thing works, or different opinions of, what we should be feeling or shouldn't be feeling, to where, if you're coming to me going oh, I haven't felt like I have had any energy for the last 7 days or something, what, do you have any advice for that? I wouldn't be oh, just like do this, do that, do this, do that. I'd be like, okay, well, why don't you think you have had energy? What has your days looked like? What are some patterns you usually do that maybe you're not doing anymore? It's like nobody's asking the questions to try to help the person figure out for themselves type of thing and what works for them. Because it's like you're just going to go like, well, you should go exercise, you should get sunlight, you should go do this, you should go do that. To where it's like, well, maybe that person, none of that stuff helps them. To where you're not figuring out with the person what to do. You're just going, here's all the shit, and just throwing it at them.
And that's where it circles back to like the hitting rock bottom thing and the body image stuff is people are just throwing words at people. It's like, why do we know more about like addiction issues and alcoholism and blah, blah, blah. But like no one's talking. Like if you have someone with body, like what is the thought process? Right. When you look in the mirror, when you're walking around or you've put clothes on or whatever, like what's the stream of thought?
Yeah, what is
how
the
do you
struggle?
go like what is a struggle? How like
what's the
when
specifics?
Does it come up? Do you notice like when you're having those emotions come up, what are your traits? Like what do you do? What was something that was leading up to it? Is it you do or eat a certain thing and then you feel bad, or then you only start to get graphic, like you only throw up if you eat certain things, but other things you feel safe eating.
Right.
It's like, what is the breaking it down? Because if we just go, well, just start working out. It's like, well, you don't maybe know that's their biggest trigger, maybe. Like,
right.
You got to start off with the food first, because that will then start to create the better relationship to that.
Yeah.
Or whatever. But
yeah, you got to ask more questions.
When we're just throwing words.
Yeah.
We're just changing the problem.
It could be not good advice. And I think that's where you can tell, like, people just they're not thinking enough, to where it's like somebody comes with an issue and then they're just trying to make them feel better as quick as possible, rather than like, let's dig into this and try to find a solution within it. It's that thing of like, they're just like trying to open the door and like get you out so that they don't have to deal with it. And that's just like, I'm going to make you feel better. I'm going to make you feel better, rather than, no, let's actually dissect this. And
maybe that's good advice, just overall advice. And I'm also saying this to myself, is only then talk about things that you are willing to really help with. Like, we love talking about health and fitness and like having your life be better. And I think with other people, like making your life what you want and creating opportunities and even like money and business and that kind of stuff.
We only like names everything.
But to me, it's like, those are still groups of topics. It's like, if you have a problem with your
See, this is where I kind of disagree with you. Like, I don't like talking about it with a lot of people.
Okay, then I'm saying I'm just speaking for me.
Yeah.
That there are some topics that I don't know anything about. I won't put in the time to research. I am not just like, that's like, I'm not the one to talk to you about this or give suggestions or break this down with you, because I have nothing to bring to the table. Like,
yeah. Well, and sometimes you just know, like, oh, we just don't think the same. So
sure,
this probably isn't going to work, like, I don't know. And maybe that's not a good way to look at it, but there is some of that too. Just like, if you're not in a space to give the advice, it's like, I don't know. Don't try to bullshit your way through it. Like, it's like, I'm not sure.
I think I'm like that a lot more with, like relationship stuff. I think the other things, I can meet people in the middle a little bit better. I would say there's sometimes that it still pisses me off, but yeah, I think sometimes just like there's certain topics where I'm like, do like 5 different steps and then come talk to me, or like, like unless you do this, like I have nothing to give to you, because like you're gonna think everything I'm saying is insane. But
that's most of the time, anyways.
Yeah, I guess maybe.
What we're saying is insane. Yeah, I don't know. It's just such a hot button topic that it's like, I don't know. It's frustrating because it's just like, I don't know. It's frustrating because there, like you said, there's no middle ground. You know, you have the people that are healthy, but then they're kind of being mean about it, where it's like, just quit being fucking lazy and do this and
Yes.
do that and whatever. But then you have the other side where it's like the people that are unhealthy and they're just getting lied to by other unhealthy people, and it's like there's no good here. Where it's like just trying to find a place in the middle where it's like, I don't know, trying to find the people that is like, they maybe are healthy and they've experienced what it's like to put these things into place and live a healthy lifestyle, but then also are measure headed enough to be like, yeah, I know this is fucking hard. I know it's difficult. I know this is a challenge. Let's work through it and try to find a good way, and a way that actually works, not just like yelling at you about something or enabling you in the other way. You know, it's like, we're going to find the middle, and find a way to get you to be healthy, rather than just like, I don't know, these jokers on social media. That's like, you know, the it's just there's just so many crazy people. It's like you're either getting yelled at of like, quit being lazy and all this. Somebody that has no compassion, no empathy, has no clue, or the other side where it's like you're just getting enabled, and it's got to
And
be
those sides are
so
so
frustrating.
attacking each other. So it's like, of
Yeah,
course you're not going to want to venture over to the other side because those people suck, and vice versa. Like,
yeah, yeah. It's like you have nobody that's just in the middle, measure headed. That's like, hey, this is hard, but here's a way that we can do stuff. You know, the advice is just like, be tough. It's like, well, what does that even look like? What are steps to do that? What are tools to do that? Don't be lazy. Okay, thanks for the like very general advice. It's like, I don't even know what lazy looks like. Like, is when I'm doing this lazy? Is when I'm doing that lazy?
Yeah.
It's like people are just so, they don't get in specifics, and that's where it's just the whole social media thing is kind of an issue. Is you've got 10 seconds to make a point and be polarizing. It's like you can only say so much to where, I don't know, I think that's why we like this and why we do this. It's like we can talk about it and talk it through and do it for hours, and we can do this, you know, multiple times, and have a base of like, yeah, we've talked about these things for lots and lots and lots of hours, and where you got these people that are just like 10 seconds, and a lot of them are just taking advantage of it too. It's like, I'm just going to try to be polarizing so that I get views and it can help my business type of thing, rather than people that are actually trying to help.
And that's where I go back to like, just talk about what you know about kind of thing. That's why I was coming from that point, is like someone that really cares, like for us, like something that we're really passionate about, I guess, is health and fitness, and like how to do it healthily. And I don't say like the right way, but ways that we think are very across the board, could work for each and every person, not just like a specific niche group of people. That like, that's what we're going to spend most of our time talking about and giving advice on, or coming up with programs that can work for all the different kinds of people. And we're thinking about the everyday person when we're writing those programs. And someone that maybe doesn't come from that point of view, they're going to be the people that, like, I would never want to get clicks on something like that just to get
there's no
views,
integrity,
because
there's no
this is something I
in
care so much about. I don't want to steer anybody in the wrong direction. That
well, and that's something that you focus on a lot, is you don't want people thinking you're a way that you're not. Like, you don't want to say things and people, you know, think that you're, I don't know, just like think that you're not who you are, kind of thing. It's like,
that really bothers me.
yeah, that's something that you focus on a lot. That's like, so you for sure wouldn't post a 10-second video of like just like being edgy and, you know, getting views. It's like, no, I don't want people to think I'm that person.
That's where, even for me, like posting pictures, like I post pictures of me all the time, that if it like I try to not pose just in ways that like I look the best, or I try and like that to me is like even the simple part of the integrity is like, you know, pose in the weird angles that make, you know, like your butt look big. It's like, no, I don't have a big butt, so I'm not going to fake it. And then people see maybe the workouts that I'm doing or seeing how I eat. And then they're going, well, she has a big butt and she's doing X, Y, and Z. So now I need to do that, even though in reality, I don't. So like, to me, that's still a lie.
Yeah.
Of like, no, you whatever you see is real.
Yeah.
And whatever I'm eating, that's what's real. We just talked about we ate donuts. Like, I'm not like, I eat only healthy all the time and just da-da-da. It's like,
yeah.
No, we've had beer on this podcast.
I'm like the epitome of health.
It's like
it's cringy people out there.
It's like that is not real, and I think people will start to see through that, or I hope people see through that.
I think they already are. I mean,
that
it's like
I don't want to lose my value to people then.
Well, right. Yeah, because
like,
you do that.
I do think some things I say are valuable and could be beneficial, that I want you to listen to the things like that, not because I need to, like, I want attention for a certain thing.
Well, because eventually you're going to get caught. And then what? Like, now all of your integrity and, like, how you're viewed is such a it's such a problem, and people are not going to trust you anymore and all that kind of stuff. It's like, you know, there's so many examples of, like, you know, people post videos or little montages of, like, the best chest building, you know, routine or whatever, and they're going through it, and it's like, that person never does this workout. Or they, like, never do these lifts. It's just because it looks good on camera.
Right.
You know, it's like, these are just good-looking camera videos that puts you in a cool position so you look good or whatever, and it makes your chest look huge or whatever it is. It's like, they would never do that exercise. They know that that's not that beneficial. It's just so that you watch it because it looks cool.
Yes.
It's like, so that person is now just doing it for a video rather than what's actually essential or beneficial. It's like, that's so the problem now is, it's like the shit that's actually good for you is boring. And people don't want to watch it. People don't want to see it.
Yeah.
But the cool, flashy stuff is what everybody wants to see. And it's like, that's a bunch of crap. It doesn't work.
Yeah. That's like, I remember Eric, like, filmed one of my workouts. And he was like, oh, we should do something cool. Like, do something with the medicine balls, or, like, do something with the ropes. And I was like, in my head, already doing them. I'm like, they would look super cool on video. But I already planned, like, if I post this, I have to say on here, like, this was my written workout. The ball stuff and the ropes were just for funsies for the video. I would never put that in one of these workouts. Yeah. And not that I'm, like, against it. It's just, like, that's just not how I work out. Like, that's not, like, my, especially with what I was training at that time. Like, I want to be so honest with that and not seem like, oh, I'm so honest. I don't even say that in a, like, I'm trying to get
it's like
attention with that. It's just, that's something that I get so pissed when I get tricked by that. Yeah. Like, that was like a phase a couple years ago where, like, girls would post videos or pictures, and then you found out, like, oh, they were doing this, like, body shaping app on their phone, or they were doing, like, they had, like, butt pads in these leggings, and that, like, and it came out where, like, all whatever this company of clothing brand, all of their fitness influencers were wearing those. Yeah. And it's like, okay, well, and then you see, like, that does change the trend. That's when all these girls start doing booty band workouts. Yep. Because those are the same girls that are doing the freaking booty band workouts on their Instagram, and then you see, oh, I'm correlating with what you look like means this. Yep. And it's just not true. And then you're wasting your time and you're wasting people's time. And now you're having people create a bad relationship with that thing. Yep. Because of course it's not going to work. Yep. It's like, you're just confusing people that are already confused. And to me, I just, like, I don't feel good about that. Yeah. Yeah. You remember all that, like, thigh gap stuff for however long? It's like people are looking like they're riding a horse. They're standing so far apart. They're in the sumo position just to get this weird image. It's like, then you look at it now, it's like, why was that a thing? Like, something so random. So stupid. Well, it's like, so random. You just look like you're, like, squatting weird. It's like everybody's bow-legged all of a sudden. Yeah. Yeah. But it was just like, why is that? How did everybody get bow-legged overnight? It's like, why is that what we chose? So dumb. You have another thing?
Or no. Yeah, it's interesting. Like, I don't know. I try not to be so preachy about it, but it's kind of difficult not to when it's like, I don't know, you're just seeing people lie all the time. It's like I'm just so sick of seeing people lie. And
Yes.
it's just like,
Well,
this isn't helping.
one thing on
Go
my
ahead.
list that we talked about one time was like being a generator versus a projector, which to me is like the same thing of a leader and a follower. I think that can kind of tie into this of like generators, someone that has influence, they have a lot of power. So be very intentional with what you're generating.
Yeah.
Like push out things that you believe in and that you are able to back up, and you know whether you know a lot about or you have the experience in, or even the disclaimers like how much we talk about kids and stuff. It's like,
Yeah.
well, we don't have kids,
You have no
but
clue yet.
we're still talking about it in the way of this is how we would like it to go, this is what we're hoping for, this is what we're setting plans in place to achieve and to do, and this is how we want to maybe go about it, but with the disclaimer of we don't have kids, so we don't know. This
Yeah.
could be a complete wash. It's like what
Yeah.
you say, like everybody has a plan until you get punched in the face, and kids are the biggest punch to the face.
Yeah.
So, but we're still talking about it because something we're very interested in about, and something
Yeah.
that we continue to,
We talk
dive
about a
into
lot.
and research, and
Yep.
even just like what you did at the park yesterday. There was a family, and there was a girl crying on the ground, and there was a mom sitting next to her and a dad standing up, and he was like, I don't want them to think like I'm looking at them, like judging them. He's like, I'm just trying to like look and
Like
learn,
studying them.
like how are you dealing with this? Like
Yeah.
she's crying on the ground. What did mom do? What did dad do? How would I maybe have done it differently?
Does
Like
it seem like it's working?
we do that so freaking much with
Yeah.
everything. That is like the same thing with the kids. Like we talk about it because we're like analyzing, we're figuring out maybe what we want to do, but still with the understanding of like, but we are not the living experience of that.
Yeah.
But that's something that we are still very interested in and passionate about, that I feel comfortable talking about it on a public place.
Yeah. Well, it's like, I mean, I don't know. I just don't really care what people are going to think or say about it. It's like, yeah, we probably don't know what we're talking about with it, but that doesn't mean that we don't still try as hard as we can to be prepared and like put all of these things into place and see, how many people are going like, oh, that's not going to work. That's definitely not going to work. It's like, yeah, it maybe wouldn't work for your kid, but every kid's different. It's like that example at the park. The mom was kind of coddling her and she was crying or whatever, and the dad was like, all right, let's go, and just like grabbed her hand and started walking. And as they're walking away, the kid is immediately like starting to calm down and relax and figure stuff out, and the crying is starting to stop. So it's like, yeah, that might not work for somebody else's kid, but this kid, like the coddling and like sitting in the emotion and being all sad and doing that, like it just continues to where the dad getting her up and like, let's get away from the situation, walk it out, like let's figure this out. The kid is already responding and like kind of getting back to equilibrium. So it's like, what's going to work for one kid's not going to work for the other. And I think that with us talking about it, it's like, yeah, I can't wait to get punched in the face by it. It's like, it's going to be, it'll be its own little train wreck, and it's something that we got to figure out. That's what we like doing, is finding solutions.
Yeah. But yeah, like I said, the base of it is like, know what you're putting out there and be intentional and have integrity with your word. And, I don't think that needs to be just like, yes, we're talking on a public platform right now, but I think like even when you're talking one-on-one with people, or like, just don't talk out of your ass all the time.
Yeah.
Because you could have influence.
The generator and the projector thing, it is just like a new fancy term for leader and follower.
Yeah, kind of.
I think that, I don't know, my opinion on that has changed a little bit. I think everybody should be striving to be a leader. And I think that just means like having like what we've been talking about this whole time, of just like saying what you believe. And it's like, if you believe that, then cool, then like good. You should be like, you should be saying what you believe. You shouldn't be bullshitting people and and lying all the time. It's like that's not how the best ideas come about, by people lying and I don't know, just like enabling and doing all the weird stuff. I think that people should be trying to be leaders, and that way of doing that is like being original and being thinking about these things and having good ideas because you've thought about them and you've thought them through and you've poked.
Not just because it's your idea.
Yeah, and it's like you've poked your own holes in your own belief or your idea, and you've maybe found ways to kind of fill those holes and why you believe that, why you still think that that's the best idea, and doing all of that, not just like, oh, somebody else said this, so I'm just gonna say it now because it's cool or that's what everybody's saying.
Mm-hmm.
It's like that's just not. It's not necessarily helpful. It's like you're not getting any original ideas out there, and then you're not really even standing behind something that you believe in. You're just saying stuff to say stuff, and I'm just about having the integrity about it of like, yeah, I said this because I believe that, and at the end of the day, it's like, okay, disagree, that's fine. This is still what I think, or maybe you change my mind on it. But if I'm just saying shit I don't believe all the time and bullshitting all the time, it's like. That's tough. It's like nobody's gonna take you seriously eventually, and you're not gonna take yourself seriously, and then you're having this freaking crisis of like, I don't know what I think, I don't know what I believe. It's like, well, because you haven't done any of that.
Yeah, and I think with this podcast, like, that's what our main goal. I don't say main goal, but like, that is the subset of why we're doing this, is to provide value to people and to like give maybe solutions or bring up topics that you've never maybe thought about to that, to that extent or in that way, that if we're going to bring something up, I want to be able to like provide something with that. Like, we're not going to just like, well, like the thing, like you're just being lazy or we're shitting on you or whatever. It's like providing some sort of leaving it with a solution or an idea of a solution or way to go about it.
Yeah. Saying stuff that has a value to it, not just saying something that it's like saying something without that doesn't mean anything.
Right. And that's why we named it what we named it, is just these are conversations that we have all of the time.
Yeah.
And it's just kind of an insight to how we talk to each other and about what. And it's like, this is how we talk. These are the topics that we talk about. We're not talking about.
Yeah.
It's like we only talk about shit that interests us. So we're also going to think deeply about it and look further into it and bring up difficult questions and figure out different ways to answer it. And
yeah. Well, and like, I feel like what happens semi-frequently is like, it'll be a conversation later on. That's like, yeah, I actually think differently about that now because I've been thinking about it.
Yeah.
It's like the leaders and the followers thing. Like I used to think like, oh, like, everybody, like, it's okay to be either or, and like we need all of them and whatever. And I'm like, now I'm sitting here, I'm like, I don't know, like maybe, but I think it'd be a lot better if our world had more leaders, because we would get better solutions to all these problems rather than people that just, oh, like, we're cool with just like people being unhealthy now, okay, I'll just follow that and do that.
Sure.
Rather than thinking for yourself and going like, okay, well, why do we do this with smoking? Why do we do this with drinking? Why do we do this with, like, drug addiction? But now this thing is fine?
And that's where I go back to, like, be a leader in shit that you actually are willing to back up and learn about and stay up to date with. That, because I also go to what, like, Chris Stefano talked about, or his dad talked about, of when Twitter came out, of, like, not everybody is supposed to have a voice.
Yeah.
Not everybody's supposed to talk and people listen to them, because they don't do that. They don't think deeply. They're very surface level. They don't want to like get into the nitty gritty of things that
they go where the wind blows.
Don't do about shit that you don't care about, or maybe like like.
Well, it's like
I don't know.
The culture now is you have to care about everything. Every single topic you have to care about it and have an opinion about it, and your heart has to be into it.
Yes.
It's like, I don't know. Like, I don't really give a shit. It's like, it's not what I'm interested in. It's not what I care about. I don't think that it's a big deal. I don't think it means much in my life. So I'm not worried about it.
Yeah. If I'm not going to think about it or be willing to think about it, then I probably don't want to talk about it and preach it, especially.
Well, it's the thing of like, people just don't say, I don't know enough.
Yeah.
I'm not sure. I don't know. I haven't thought about it.
Yeah.
That's yeah. Everybody's got to have an opinion now.
As
Yeah.
we say on a public podcast. But also, we only talk about things that we are willing to really talk about
Yeah, I mean,
for the most part.
it can definitely seem hypocritical with us. I can see that argument.
But it's
But
stuff
not
that
not everybody's gonna like us. Not everybody's gonna like what we have to say. And it's that thing of like, yeah, I can see where you're coming from, but also I know my own integrity. I think I have a good grasp on yours, and I think when we're talking about something, like, we're coming from a place of having that integrity. So if you don't like the shit, you don't like the shit. Click on a different one. Go watch something
Sure.
else. Like, I'm not here to try to get everybody to like me.
Yeah.
Like, I don't care. It's like, I like having these conversations with you, and that's why I think we like doing this and why we want to do this. If other people don't like it, well, I'm not doing it for that. I'm doing it because I like talking to you and
Yeah.
for the people that would like this.
Yeah.
So it's like, okay, fucking win-win.
Yeah. Yeah. But yeah, that's my goal with this, is just to keep providing and not just ranting. But like, I want to
Yeah.
provide solutions. I want to provide
Yeah.
some sort of guidance, because we really are only going to talk about shit that we really care about and stuff that we talk about all the time and think very deeply on. That, you know, it's like
Yeah.
we would talk about that with each other. So I want to bring that to this as much as possible.
Yeah, and explore ideas.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because there's stuff that we maybe care about but don't know anything about yet.
Yeah.
And this is a perfect place to explore that. Yeah.
I feel done.
Sweet. All right. See ya.